The election is over. Donald Trump underpolled for a third straight cycle. Poly market, the only one that got it right. Take a look at the numbers. It's clear. We are now 74 days to Inauguration Day, and things going to move pretty fast between now and then. Already a lot of rumors about possible Trump cabinet posts. More on that in just a moment. But I think it's time to shine a little light on the darkness of the last 4 years and call out the rot, the rotten people, and the decay in Washington, because all of those people were just rejected by the American people, by you. If Donald Trump lost on Tuesday, Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Judge Juan Merchan, they were all going to put Trump in jail, like later this month. At least that was the plan. That was always the plan, but they failed, they lost, and now their party is completely lost. Think about Merrick Garland, our Attorney General. What a sad, weak little man he is. The architect of all the lawfare, along with Joe Biden, against Donald Trump. He's going to be fired in 74 short days, leaving the office with a reputation somewhere between Kids Court on Nickelodeon and Perry Mason. And out in Hollywood, how do you think people like Julia Roberts, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Keith Olbermann, Rob Reiner, Mark Cuban, how are they all feeling today? How do you think Robert De Niro is feeling today?
No one takes him or took him really seriously. They take him seriously now, of course. But around the country, people who didn't know him as we did started to support him. They bought into his bull. Trump bought their votes with outrageous lies and empty promises. He got the most religious evangelicals to applaud a sinner.
You think about this. I hate to say stick to what you do, but stick to what you do. Stick to acting, all right? George Clooney wrote an op-ed in one of the largest newspapers in America asking a sitting president to get out of the race. Think about that for a minute. Jeffrey Epstein owned a small island in the Virgin Islands, right off St. Thomas, called Little St. James. And a lot of very important people visited that island. None of them saints, I assure you. Some of them we know about. Some of them we don't. How are they all feeling today? Donald Trump said he would release the Epstein client list, and I believe he will. The Democratic Party today is lost adrift, but I'm not even sure they realize it yet. Everyone is blaming somebody else. Guys, Kamala was a really bad candidate. It's as simple as that. It really is. Donald Trump is not an aberration. Donald Trump is mainstream. Let that sink in. Two things brought Kamala down on Tuesday. The first, bad people. The Democrats have got a lot of bad people in their party who stand for absolutely nothing. And for too many people, hating Donald Trump is a complete religion. Take a look at some of the reactions that we've dug up over the last 36 hours.
I'm going to get drunk today, and I'm going to act like an angry black woman because I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm upset. I'm angry as bro. I'm angry. I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt.
Knowing that I went to bed, yeah, not only shows me how racist, which, hello, wake up, you black, you're aware of that. It not only shows me how racist this country is, misogynistic, y'all.
Yo, I'm scared to go to sleep. I might wake up a slave. Why are y'all Trump supporters?
All right, so I didn't do that when Trump lost in 2020. I'm quite confident that you didn't do that either. Yeah, but Trump is not an answer when you're asked a political question. People always say that. Yeah, but Donald Trump, but abortion, but January 6th. Look at this right here. The New Yorker had a famous magazine cover back in the 1970s. Basically, this was how a New Yorker viewed the rest of the world, or that was the impression. Anything west of the Hudson River was some vast wasteland. This picture is accurate to many in the Democratic Party. What they don't get is that west of the Hudson River is America. And that's the America that just elected Donald Trump. And Democrats, if they don't figure out how to win back America, the Democratic Party will become the bull moose party of the 21st century. It will cease to exist. And I mean that seriously. And that could happen. The second reason that Kamala lost, besides, of course, Kamala herself being a bad candidate, plain old bad policies. Joe and Kamala never seem to get that you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. The Wall Street Journal with a piece today. Democrats, blame yourselves. Democrats decided to use taxes from plumbers and welders to forgive college loans for lawyers and grad students. Joe, Kamala, you can't do that. Did you honestly think you were going to get away with that? They thought they were going to get away with it. And it didn't take long for the media to blame you for Kamala's loss, to blame you for not voting for Kamala because you are racist and you are sexist. How dare you not vote for the woman that we told you to vote for? Listen.
Let's be honest about this, okay? Let's be absolutely blunt about it. There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country. And anybody who thinks that that did not in any way impact on the outcome of this race is wrong.
Some of this is pure racism and misogyny against someone of her identity.
Not enough people in this country yet believe in the full equality of women.
It's really simple. Kamala didn't win on Tuesday because she was a really bad candidate, a liar, a plagiarist, and the American people could see right through her every time she walked out the door. And calling Americans sexist and racist is exactly why she lost in the first place. Remember when Michelle Obama said this?
Our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
When they go low, we go high. Michelle, that was a lie too, wasn't it? The truth is, Kamala is now historic for only one reason. She's the first ever black, Southeast Asian, Indian, Jamaican woman of color to lose a presidential election. Back in 2020, when Joe and Kamala took office, I remember hearing the media slobbering all over themselves. America just elected the first Southeast Asian, black, Jamaican woman of color. Please. When Joe and Kamala took office in 2020, nobody was talking about that. When Joe and Kamala won, most Americans said, wow, Joe and Kamala won, great, what's for dinner? And they moved on with their day. It's not about race, it's not about gender, and Democrats and the media just don't get that. Here's Mark Halperin today.
One of the most incredible and underappreciated and reported achievements of the Biden administration is the commitment to excellence and diversity. They did better far and away than any previous administration of finding great people who look like America. Donald Trump, I believe, doesn't have the same concern. It doesn't mean there won't be any diversity. But if he said, hey, we're going to announce 3 cabinet appointments today, they're all white men, he's not going to say, and no one around him is going to say, oh, we can't possibly do that. We have to have diversity in every announcement. I think the press secretary will be a woman. I think the chief of staff will be a woman. I think you'll see a lot of white men in a lot of big jobs.
The commitment to excellence in diversity, finding great people who look like America. That's what Mark said. 36 hours after the election, my friend Mark Halperin is already concerned about diversity in Donald Trump's cabinet, which is why Joe got booted and Kamala lost on Tuesday. Mark, it was because Joe and Kamala surrounded themselves with the wrong people that this whole thing, this whole charade came undone. There is too much at stake. I don't care what you look like. I want the right people in the right jobs. Were people like Karine Jean-Pierre, Rachel Levine, Sam Brinton, remember the FBI director Kimberly Cheadle, Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris herself, were they really the right people for the job? Were they the most qualified, or were they hired based on one thing that none of us can control, skin color and our gender? I'll let you decide at home. But if you were going to have heart surgery, would you look for a hospital with the most diverse staff, or would you look for a hospital with the best doctor? Today, by the way, Donald Trump named Susie Wiles as his chief of staff. Susie will become the first ever female chief of staff in American history, a woman of supreme credentials and the confidence of President-elect Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear that about diversity anymore. The Democratic Party has 2 options right now: evolve or get left behind as the rest of America moves forward. They, them is not real. You and I are. Men don't have babies, women do. And equity means nothing if you don't live in reality. When I was a kid, most Americans got their news from 3 people: Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, Peter Jennings, all left-leaning and all generally agreed on what the news was that day. They presented it a little bit differently, but that's all changed. Now Americans have more options, and clearly too many Americans are spending their time getting everything they hear about the world from one place, and that needs to change. We have an incredibly hard time getting Democrats to join us here on Newsmax, and yet every Sunday, there's J.D. Vance on CNN or House Speaker Mike Johnson on NBC. Kamala never came on Newsmax once. We're the 4th biggest network on the planet. Not once. That's a problem. You think maybe if you want to win people over, you might show a modicum of courage and sit down in front of people that don't agree with you? That needs to change. Kamala was part of the problem. But the beautiful part of all of this for Donald Trump right now is that he never has to run for office again. He just won his last election, meaning he doesn't need the media. Most politicians are always thinking about their next election, meaning they've got to play nice with the media. Not Donald Trump. If MSNBC's calls Trump for an interview, he can ignore them. If the New York Times calls Trump for an interview, he can ignore them. If CNN or David Muir invite him on, guess what? He can ignore them. And if they don't like it, if they complain about it, Donald Trump can say, well, I learned from the very best how to avoid the media and how to avoid interviews. I learned from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.